probably because I would move to more whole foods. I had a bunch more vegetables, and I took out all the red meat and the chicken. And yeah, so since then I was like, okay, well, hey, if this is what can clear up my acne, I'm just going to keep doing this just for the acne. And then after that, you know, I just went down the road of like learning more about it. I watched the doc.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. We have a very special guest, my man Brian Turner, who I just gotta say, I've been following on YouTube for a few years before he went vegan, which I'm excited to dive into his story and his transition story. I had the opportunity of meeting Brian when I first arrived in LA, like 3 days after I arrived, and we just hit it off. We became buds, and the rest is history. So Brian, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. It's a beautiful day in Arizona, which is weird to say because I'm usually from San Diego. Just moved here.
Yeah, beautiful. You've been there for like a week now or so.
About, I think, like 2.5 weeks. I don't know. Time flies
already.
Man.
Yeah. It's like I saw you like a few weeks ago before you left.
Yeah. Then I like pretty much left a week after you saw me, man. So I'm getting used to Arizona. It's really hot and really dry.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. So I was thinking of like how to introduce you. So YouTuber, investor, entrepreneur, influencer. What's your favorite title?
I don't know, man. Yeah, we all wear different hats. Content creator is probably how I'd put it, and then everything else kind of falls under that umbrella, I think.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, man, you like I said, I've been following you on for years on YouTube, back in the fitness space, in the Matt August, Ziz, like all those days where we wore vegan. So yeah, I was really inspired by your content, and then I saw you transition from going from eating meat to going vegan. So do you mind giving a little bit of a background story, like before you went vegan, what you were doing? Because you're doing bodybuilding as well.
Yeah, man. Shoot. I started lifting weights and bodybuilding when I was 15. Up to that point, I was playing soccer, and my real goal was to go professional and just like do that full on, because I've always been athletic. And then I was really skinny. I was 130 pounds. I was 6'1". People were always telling me like, you should eat a burger. You can see your ribs and stuff. And I got kind of like, you know, a little self-esteem-y about that. And my brother started lifting weights, and after like a month or two, he just had like a little tiny vein going up his bicep. And I just thought he was the most jacked guy in the world. Now I look back, he was not. But I was just like, oh, that looks so cool, man. It just looks so badass. And I was like, I got to do that. So I started lifting, fell in love with it. After a couple of months, I was like, okay, that's it, man. I'm not going to do soccer anymore. I'm going to do this. And then I just, like, that became my life, like 100%. Like 7 days of the week, 24 hours. Everything became tailored towards it. Like my sleep, I wouldn't drink alcohol. I wouldn't go partying. I wouldn't like socialize with people. I was like absorbing as many videos and magazines as I could, reading like all the IFBB pros and their workouts and all that stuff. So yeah, I just went pretty hardcore with it. And from there, especially back then, before there was like a lot of YouTube creators and stuff, it was like you would just follow the IFBB pro guys, the guys who are 300 and something pounds. So I ended up going down that route of a thing was called gallon of milk a day diet, Go Mad diet. So I would literally have a gallon of milk every single day. I usually have 8 chicken thighs a day, something like 30, 40 ounces of red meat, like steak or some sort of like red meat like that every single day. Yeah, I was pretty much the least vegan person you could possibly like paint a picture of. And I was definitely the last person that would ever go vegan. So yeah, the whole story, like rounding up, is crazy, because when I look back, I'm like, it's like a whole different person.
Yeah, because so how long have you been vegan? I think you're around the same amount of time as me.
About 6 years now.
Yeah. So basically, when you weren't vegan, going to the bodybuilder days, it was like the Jay Cutler, the Kai Green, Ben Pekulski years.
Yeah, Phil Heath, all those, dude. Yeah, Sean Roden, all them, dude.
Yeah, you watch their video on YouTube. They're eating like a dozen eggs for breakfast, and they're doing. Yeah, I remember those days. I never tried the gallon of milk. I did when I was powerlifting, the whole diet. So you eat like a whole cake, a whole pizza, or like you just ate a whole of whatever you bought. Because like I feel like you're like me, had a fast metabolism, right? And you just like had to eat so much to put on weight. And I just try to say about the vein part, the first time you start seeing veins, you're like, oh, this is working. I'm like Superman. It's the best feeling.
And your like perspective is so good because you don't have any jacked friends. So you just like
This is the best. You feel like He-Man, bro. Like
Yeah.
Hercules.
Yeah, the good old days of starting lifting. Um, so yeah, can't coming from this world of like eating a ton of meat, being heavy into bodybuilding, and the only influence that was there was a ton of meat eating and training insane amounts of hours per week. So I know that at that time, the like acne was a big thing that you were like talking about online, and I kind of want to segue that into like veganism after. So do you mind sharing kind of like your acne journey? Because I know it's a big part of kind of what you've been sharing over the past few years.
Yeah, man. So like I said, I started lifting at 15. Going along with that, I also was homeschooled all the way up until I went into public school at 14. So right after my first public year of school, when I had zero friends, the next year I started lifting. And that was kind of also had to do with the fact that like my self-esteem wasn't huge because I just didn't know anyone. And I was kind of like the weird kid. It's kind of the goofy kid. Bodybuilding kind of gave me this escape. And I felt like I could control my situation and it wasn't up to other people, whether they liked me or not. Like I could win when I did the correct things in the gym and it didn't matter what you thought of me. So that's like what drove me farther and farther into it. But then, like I said, started doing like a gallon of milk a day and like having so much protein bars and so much whey protein and mass gainers and all this stuff that when you went online back in the day, they would promote you to do. And the problem was I already kind of had genetics that would dispose me to having acne, but it probably wouldn't have been nearly as bad if I wasn't doing all of those things. And so after about a year, I just started getting really bad cystic nodular pimples. So like, imagine like literally like a glass marble. That's how big my cysts would be under my skin. And probably around, I would say like 17 years old, that was when it got to worse, 17 and 18. So like my last 2 years of high school. And I would have at least 3 or 4 cysts on my face at all times. And these cysts would last for at least a month, but they would usually stick around for 2 or 3 months. They'd be these big red areas, and then I would have just normal whiteheads that everyone usually deals with and blackheads. So my whole face was just covered in acne. And so like coming from somebody who already had, a little bit of some confidence and self-esteem issues because I just was the weird kid, then I have all this acne on my face all of a sudden. And kids in high school, man, they're brutal. Like they don't have anything to compare their own struggles with. So there's no way for them to be nice. They're just like, look at your face. So they'd call me pizza face and crater face and moon face. And it was tough, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much more of this story you want me to share, but that's kind of like how I got to where my acne was at its worst.
Which I want for you to share that because I never had like that acne to that level, but I did have a lot growing up. And I feel like me and you, when we chatted, when I came down to San Diego, like very similar story, like fitness and bodybuilding gave us like, that's what started giving me confidence. And I had acne as well going into school. And I was like super insecure about my body and how my skin was. So I always like sharing that because I know there's probably people listening that maybe are in the same scenario. And I have to say this, I didn't tell you this when we were in San Diego, but I remember watching your videos because I've been vegan for 8 years. So I was just 2 years before you started. And I was watching your videos. And then when I was starting to discover the benefits of going vegan and the mucus and dairy and all that, I was like, man, he should just go vegan. Like I remember like a year within veganism, I was watching your videos, I was like, damn, he should just go vegan. And then you did 2 years after, which I was super happy. And like the difference was insane. So do you kind of mind sharing like what was the reason that brought you to go vegan? Was it like animal cruelty? Was it skin? Was it like the fitness aspect of things? Like what kind of convinced you to give it a shot?
Totally, man. I feel like with a lot of people, they want to have a better story. So they want to say like, I did it because of ethics and morals and stuff, or it's for the planet. But like literally mine was just vanity. Like, so what happened was originally when I had my acne get really, really bad, like I was saying, 17, 18, 19, and it was just, there was nothing that I did that could fix it. So like, obviously you jump on all the products, Proactive, Epiduo, like literally everything you can go to the drugstore and try. And then after that, nothing works. And then you go to the dermatologist, they give you antibiotics, you take that course, doesn't work. They give you another one, doesn't work. Eventually I got on Accutane. The craziest thing, dude, Accutane, for people who don't know, is like the heaviest drug that you can take to try to eliminate your acne. They originally created Accutane as a chemotherapy drug for people who have cancer. So they just happened to find out that it shuts off your apocrine glands, which are what releases, or your sebum fluid, like the oil that creates acne, right? So then they decided to start prescribing it as an acne medication. So I took that, and it's supposed to only last about 3 or 4 months before you start seeing your acne improve. I was on it for 3 or 4 months. Nothing happened. So my doctor upped it more. I was on it for another couple months, upped it more and more and more. Eventually got me to the highest dose that he's ever seen anyone take. I was at 240 milligrams a day. Usually people are taking around 20 to 40 milligrams a day. Dude, and I was on this for, I think it was 72 weeks total. And even after we had ramped me up to 10 times more than anyone has ever taken, nothing had improved. And one day my dermatologist I did my monthly check-in with him, and he was like, look, I'm not supposed to give dietary advice. It's out of my legal, like what I'm allowed to do. But I've had some clients who have taken out whey protein. They've taken out some of the supplements, and they've seen an improvement. And so I immediately took out all of the whey protein. I took out all the dairy too, because I know that whey is derived from dairy. So I just took out all dairy. And then immediately, dude, like immediately the next week, then the next month, it just got better and better. The Accutane finally actually started working, and it was able to actually kick in and do its full thing, and I was able to get clear. Then after it all cleared up, I was like, okay, maybe I can kind of sneak some whey protein bars back in, because they were always sending me free stuff. And I was man, what am I going to do? Yeah, I need protein and it's free. So I started putting in like Quest bars and like Quest chips and stuff. And what happened was crazy is every time I would have even one serving of whey protein, just like one shake or one protein bar, the next day I would start to feel a little pressure somewhere on my face. And then within a couple of days, I would have another cyst. And so in my brain, I said, okay, look, like it's obvious that dairy is causing my cystic acne. I'm not sure if it's causing all the other types of acne, but for sure it's the cause of this cystic acne. So then I cut out dairy entirely, didn't go vegan. A couple years went by, but I just always kept that, like, in my practice is no more dairy. And then, when I went vegan, John Venus, who is a fellow he's a fellow fitness YouTuber. You're all smiling over there. He was a fellow fitness YouTuber at the time. We had both like kind of had the same journey with YouTube. We were always kind of like helping each other out, collaborate. We were really good friends. He went vegan for maybe like a month or two. And then he was like, hey, you should try it out, man. And I was like, hey, I'm down to try anything, especially with YouTube. It's fun to try different styles and make different series. Got on it, and my acne improved even more, probably because I would move to more whole foods. I had a bunch more vegetables, and I took out all the red meat and the chicken. So since then I was like, okay, well, hey, if this is what can clear up my acne, I'm just going to keep doing this just for the acne. And then after that, I just went down the road of like learning more about it. I watched the documentaries. Then I got into the ethics of it. You see like Cowspiracy and all these like really gnarly movies. And you're like, you know what? I'm staying for multiple reasons now, not just because of my acne. Yeah. So the acne was just kind of like the gateway to it.
Yeah. Beautiful. I feel like the stories are, like I said, the people have the typical story of like environment, animal cruelty, but I did it to get skinny. So I feel like it's fine to have a different story. What's important is that you ended up there. So obviously you saw the improvement in your skin, but you having a background of bodybuilding and obviously being really into fitness, was there a fear, because I feel like it's a common fear of people going from like, I'm going to go from eating like all this meat per day to not eating any of it, and then the thought about protein and losing muscle mass? Was there any fear going into that, or were you pretty confident that you can like transition easily?
Yeah, dude, no, I just came to terms that I was going to lose some muscle mass, which, once you learn about it, that's just crap. But I for sure was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to lose some muscle. It'll be okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. No, it's the same thing everybody goes through when they first go vegan, except I think maybe for people like us with our background of like following all these guys who promote eating 400 grams of protein a day, that kind of background, I think it was magnified for us because. Yeah, I definitely thought, okay, there's no way you can get that much protein in. Plus, I've heard that the bioavailability of plant proteins is not as good, and so each gram doesn't count the same as like a meat gram of protein. Yeah, so I had all the bro science that I grew up on still rattling around in my head. And yeah, what I found out was that it was super easy to get my protein in, especially for me because I eat a lot of calories. I didn't need to really focus that hard to actually make it happen. And then yeah, I did 2 competitions, so I was able to do my normal bulk cycle and basically get more muscle mass and add on weight, and I was able to continue watching the exercise that I was doing, watch the weight that I was using go up. That was pretty normal. That kind of made sense to me because I was in a surplus. But then I was really afraid about like what would happen when I go into a deficit, when I'm trying to lose body fat and trying to retain my muscle. That's what I was really, really nervous about. And especially with a competition where you're getting really low on body fat. And it was just like basically exactly the same. There's some small things I had to kind of tweak, but I got super lean. If anything, I'd say I'd get lean faster on a vegan diet, and strength was able to stick around. Muscle was able to stick around. It was easy.
Beautiful. Well, do you mind? I'd like to dive into that because a lot of people, I never talk about bulking because my primary thing is like fat loss and improvement in body composition. So I know right now you're bulking, right? You're trying to eat all the food that you have to eat. So what does that look like, being a vegan now versus what it was before for you to go and like put on some muscle mass? Because, obviously before, like I've seen you on YouTube and I met you in person. I was like, he's a big dude, right? He's muscular and you've been vegan for a while. And like, I don't think like you've lost any size. You got bigger since when I saw you in those videos. So you also had a lot of success in it. So what does that look like now that you're trying to put on some weight, and what are the main things that you're focusing on?
Yeah. So I didn't change really anything except just like the types of foods that I was eating. So I'd still bulked on the same amount of calories. I'd still diet on the same amount of calories. I'd still aim for roughly the same protein, except I kind of dropped that a little bit lower. But yeah, man, I mean, it basically looks exactly the same. So when I'm bulking, I'll start somewhere around like 3,600 calories. And then as I'm able to put on more mass, and so then I'm able to use heavier weights, so my workouts are getting more intense, then I'll just need to ramp my calories up as I go. So right now I'm probably around 4,300 calories. By the end of this bulk, I'll probably be somewhere around like 4,800 calories a day. And that'll probably get me somewhere around like the 210 to 215 pounds range. I might go a little higher than that if I feel like really like just getting a little chubby. That's hard to do though.
Get sick. Yeah.
I want to get sick, but it's hard to accept being kind of chubby, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then after that, after I get there, then I'll start the diet phase, and then it's basically the same thing. I just reverse it. So I go down from wherever I'm stopping at, 700 calories, drop by a couple hundred calories every few weeks until I get down, usually at my lowest when I'm dieting and losing body fat. The lowest I ever have to get is like 2,700 calories. Unless I'm doing a competition, then it'll get down to like 23 or 2,400 calories. So just like you said, like our metabolism is pretty fast. So the calories are higher than most people think, but you also have to like factor in that there is a good amount of mass, and I'm a pretty lean dude. So at 200 pounds, like most of that is coming from muscle. I don't have a huge amount of body fat.
Yeah. You're already still pretty lean, even like during your bulk. Yeah.
I get lucky.
Yeah. So we talked about protein, that you brought it a little bit lower than what you used to before. So what does that look like on a bulk and on a cut? Because there's this big misconception for people that want to bulk and retain muscle while they're cutting.
Yeah, man. So there's like a couple things that are interesting to me. When I went vegan, I had just stopped eating that crazy amount that I referenced earlier. I wasn't trying to hit 400 or more grams a day. I had learned that you don't actually need that much. So before I went vegan, I was probably aiming for something like 250 to 300 grams of protein a day, which is still way higher than you possibly need. Then as I kind of, went through veganism and figured it out, I was trying to aim really high above 200, and then I just kind of tapered down to see if anything would happen, and I tapered down and down and down and down, and eventually got to like 140, and I found that was pretty good. And then at that time, there was kind of this big movement in the vegan content creation world where people were like, you don't need that much protein at all. You barely need any protein. And I kind of fell for it.
10 days?
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, then maybe that's true. Let's try. And I went down, and at a point I was getting like 105, 110, something like that grams of protein. And there is kind of like a limit. It's not just like a magical formula where if you're vegan, you don't need protein. You still need a crap load of protein if you are putting on muscle and you are doing intense. Like for me, I do 6 days a week of lifting, and they're like 2-hour sessions sometimes. So then what ended up happening is 110 is way too low for me. And I found that kind of my golden ratio is like somewhere of 140 to 150. And then if I'm dieting, I up that protein a little bit more, maybe by another 10%. So I'm aiming for something like 160 or something like that.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love hearing that because people need to hear that it doesn't need to be as high. Me and you have very like similar stats. We're around the same weight, or around the same height as well. And that's pretty much what I aim around, is around 150.
Yeah. And it's easy. It's super easy to do that. If you're trying to get 400 grams protein on a vegan diet, good luck. But
that is
150
easy.
easy.
Yeah, that's a lot of soy and like fiber. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is the fiber for a lot of people. Like I do it pretty well, but man, some people are just like, they're just bloated all day.
Yeah. So talking about protein and like being very easy to hit those numbers. I know you utilize soy to hit your protein. I do as well. And you made an awesome video. Was it called like Soy Boy or something like that?
Are you talking about the one where I ate a pound of soy every single day for a month? That one?
Yes. Yeah, that one. And you went and got tested.
Yep. Got my blood tested before I started it, and I got it tested after. And I had, it was at minimum 1 pound of soy a day. But
which is like
usually
one block of tofu.
Yeah, so it'd be at least 1 block of tofu, and then I would usually do like a couple servings of soy milk as well, because I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure I couldn't be called out by not having enough soy, so it doesn't count. So it's always a block of tofu, and then usually like 4, 5, 6 servings of soy milk, because I would just use that to base my fruit smoothies with. And yeah, so I did that for a little over 30 days. I forget the specifics of how many grams of protein that ended up being, but it was a lot. And yeah, I got my blood testosterone tested before, got my blood testosterone tested afterwards. And it's crazy because all I wanted to do was just maintain it. But actually my testosterone went up by something like 90 or 100 nanograms, something like that.
Yeah. I remember seeing that. I was like, yes, another one that proves it, because it's like the whole like man boob thing and like building more estrogen in the body in guys, and for women like being like causing cancer in the body. Like it's false. So I love that you did that and you actually went to do the test. Like you did everything right in order to not be called out.
And then I still got called out, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably still got called out.
You just see the comments, man. It's just like, oh, this doesn't count because he didn't test this, or he did this wrong, or whatever it is. And it's like, man, you can never convince everybody.
Yeah, you gotta make a video. I ate 10 pounds of soy a day for 30 days.
There you go, dude. Like I injected soybean oil into my veins every day for a month. And what happened?
It's just basically a Synthol of soybean oils.
You just get super jacked.
Yeah.
It's the secret.
And so now being 6 years into being vegan, have you noticed any other differences besides obviously the fitness aspect, like skin clearing up, like your skin's so different from before, like in terms of energy, digestion? Has anything else shifted for you since you've been vegan over the past 6 years?
I would say it's interesting because I feel like everybody wants to say something really cool about veganism because they want to like push that it's awesome. But I would say all of the good things that happened for me with moving to a plant-based diet happened in that especially the first couple months, but especially that first year. And then after that, there's no big difference between year 4 and year 5 and year 4 and year 6, or like everything's just been cruising. But all those things have stayed around. So when I wake up, I don't have mucus. I don't have to clear my throat. I don't have like a bunch of like weird sticky spit. My energy levels are high right when I wake up. Recovery has always been fast, but it's been faster since I went vegan. Joints feel good. Yeah, like I would say one thing that's really interesting that I definitely have noticed, because I've been lifting for now like 12 years. So basically half of it non-vegan and half of it vegan. That's pretty cool. I actually just realized it's about 50% each way. What I've noticed is that on a plant-based diet, it's 100% easier to stay lean for me. So if I'm not like if I'm not gassing the calories hard, like if I go on a vacation or I'm just doing something off schedule, so I just can't get my calories in, I will just immediately start leaning up really, really quickly, which is kind of cool because, you know, like you lean up really fast and you stay lean almost all year round. But it also, I feel like maybe I need more calories or something like that to bulk. I'm not really exactly sure, but I've just noticed that I stay leaner for longer on a vegan diet, and it takes me longer on that bulk to really get to the point where I feel like I'm
like a cloud, like I'm dreamer bulking, where I'm like, oh,
I'm definitely feeling it in my like my face is kind of chunky right now and stuff.
Yeah, the puffy feeling at the end of the cut.
Oh, the moon face. That's what it is.
Yeah. I'm trying to stop before I get there. I don't want to go back to those days.
Dude, I can't ever imagine you being bulked out like that. Other than that picture that you showed me.
Yeah, that was the heaviest I've ever been. 240. I was a cloud. That's pretty much, that was my shape. I was a cloud.
yeah, you were a cloud, bro. You were like Rich Piana, bro.
Yeah, like one of his arms, pretty much.
Yeah, like giving credit. You were just like one of his squads. That's all.
Yeah, he was a big guy. And so you talked about cutting for shows and all that. The big thing that is still around is like carbs make you fat, right? And then obviously going like transitioning to a vegan diet, because I'm just gonna assume that when you cut for a bodybuilding show, it was like the bro way that like I kind of did with the chicken, rice, and broccoli. You cut your carbs and you do all that fun stuff. So having to do it vegan, how did that change for you? Did you still go down the road of like trying to cut the carbs as much as possible, or there's like, I'm going to try something different and keep it high?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point. Carbs don't make you fat. I think like most people know that at this point. But when it comes to bodybuilding competitions, the normal bro protocol is usually tilapia and asparagus. That's what I was put on the first couple times I competed, just because it's mustard or like a hot sauce, because it's like no calories, just sodium. And so that was definitely something that was kind of weird, because when you're bulking, sure, like it doesn't matter if you're having a ton of carbs, because if you hold it a little extra water, who cares? You're not like getting on a stage at any point. But when you are getting closer and closer to your competition, you want to like kind of manage your water retention and not have it fluctuate constantly. And carbs definitely do that. I mean, carbohydrates, they hold on to water in your body. And if those carbohydrates are fluctuating a lot, so is your water. And so that was actually really hard for me, because I was so used to being able to just rely on tilapia or sometimes chicken and vegetables. And then it's easy because you're really not having that many carbs at all. On my first vegan bodybuilding competition, I was a little confused as to what I should eat to get protein but not get a ton of carbs, because that is one thing with veganism, is unless you're eating seitan, so like straight up wheat gluten, or you're eating
like tofu is high in fat and protein, but then tempeh is high in carb and protein.
Yeah, exactly. So you're getting like a byproduct on each of them. You can't just get like a straight protein, or you're just having like protein shakes. There's no other source that's just straight protein. So you're kind of getting like this extra bit of carbs. So I just kind of like bit the bullet and was like, all right, well, we're just going to do competition prep with a little bit more carbs than I'm used to. And it actually ended up being fine, because I think I would have found out is that by cutting my carbs out so low before I was vegan, I was actually kind of like shortchanging myself, because I was like low on glycogen. I was having worse workouts, and I would show up to the actual competition with less intense workouts because I didn't have those carbs throughout the last couple of weeks of training. So I think it actually ended up being better. The one thing I will say is that I definitely am no like Nimai or like Corin, like a couple of these dudes, or like Torrey Washington, where they have like dialed in when they step on stage how to just stay dry and super full. I always get extremely lean to the point where I'm at 5% body fat, 6% body fat, where you can literally see like ripples and all the muscles, striations are crazy. The veins look like ridiculous. But then when it comes to like that last week of really nailing what you look like on stage, that has always been a struggle for me, vegan and non-vegan. Just, I don't know how they just dial it in so well, but
yeah,
I don't know.
It's
other
crazy.
than that, it's all been similar. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy because you can prep for 16 weeks, and then the last week kind of mess it up and it's done, right? Like, yeah, you're lean, but like when you're on stage, like you're not showing up to your fullest, right? You're not like full of glycogen, fully pumped up for the stage.
It's kind of soul crushing, bro, because when you get that lean and you're having your really good workouts before you have to do the final push, like the final 3, 2, 1 weeks, you're like hitting your workout, you're getting pumped, and you're still having carbs at that point. And so like at the end of your workout, you like muscles are filled, your skin is tight, and you look so like, you literally look at yourself and you're like, I don't even look natural. Like it looks ridiculous because your brain has never really seen yourself at that low body fat while also as filled out as you can possibly be. And you're like, man, if I could just look exactly like this on stage, like if I could just teleport right now to the stage, it'd be sick. And then you actually do the competition, and then you're like, you're like, what happened? Like, yeah, you like, I feel flat. I can't. Yeah, exactly. You know exactly what I mean. Yeah, it's a struggle.
Did you find that so funny? Because I feel like my best physique is the cheat meal after the show. Like you're just so pumped and veiny, and it's the best. Your physique looks insane after your cheat meal after the show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that was always the thing, is that people would be like, well, what if you did a cheat meal before the show? And so then people were trying to time their cheat meals, all that stuff. I got kind of bored with. I was like, I just want to lift and look good. I hate this whole like nickel and diming.
Just want to look good, bro.
Yeah. It's just a cherry on top, right, of the vegan Sunday.
Right.
We're changing our expression to all vegan expression. So actually, you know what? Let's ask the audience for this. You know, is there an expression cutting things cold turkey? I say cutting it cold tofurkey. And then Brian shared one, like, was it 2 birds with 1 stone?
Yep.
Yeah. We got to find a vegan version of that. So if you guys know a vegan version of that, message Brian or myself. All the links are going to be down below with a vegan expression.
DM me
of
that
2 birds,
one
1 stone.
Because I say 2 birds, 1 stone constantly, and I do not know what I can switch that with.
We got to find a vegan alternative.
2 carnivores, 1 stone. That's bad. That's bad, bro. It's not okay.
Oh, yeah, we'll find something. 2 tofurkeys in 1 oven. Something.
You keep trying.
Yeah. Cool, man. So I want to know, like, what's the next thing for you? Do you plan on like stepping on stage again? Any work that you want to do in the vegan space? Let the people in on the next projects.
Yeah, man. That was actually the plan. Unfortunately, so like I was, oh man, it's actually really sucked because I was really stoked to do 1 more bodybuilding competition. This time I was going to do a whole different way. I was going to go to a natural tested organization because I'd never done that before, because the NPC ones are non-tested, but they're also the ones that are closest to me. So I always just went to those ones. Then you show up though, and all the guys are talking about what cycles they're on and what testosterone they're using. And I was like, no wonder I'm not placing. Like, geez, bro. So I was going to do a natural
Thousands
one.
of dollars a year, a month. Like, yeah.
Dude. But then I had finished my bulk. I had maybe a couple more months, and then I was going to start contest prep. I was going to pick out a date for a natural one and start prepping, and then just deal with however far it was. And then, as we all know, the world shut down, and that whole thing happened. So like Corona, COVID shutdowns. And so that just put it all off. And then, nothing's ever been the same since. I think, competition started again like 6 months ago. But since then, like, my whole life has shifted. I'm currently like helping my parents retire and move from San Diego to Arizona, which is why I'm here. And then also just kind of like my mentality has changed. Like, I kind of don't really care that much about bodybuilding competitions. I absolutely love tweaking my physique and getting bigger and smaller and working out, all that stuff. But I just don't really care about the actual competition day. So now I don't really feel that motivated to do another competition. So it'll probably be a couple more years before I actually plan out the next bodybuilding competition. The next thing that I'm working on right now that I'm really excited about is I'm converting my van. And so after I get my parents, currently we're like an Airbnb right now, but then we're going to find the house that they're going to buy that, move them into it, get them settled, get them into some good habits. And then that'll be probably around the end of February, beginning of March. I will have the van completely converted. It'll be completely ready. And then we're just going to road trip basically around the western 50% of the United States and just live in the van for probably around like 4 or 5, maybe longer months, depending on how I like it. Just be able to see all the different national parks and then visit all my friends that live in like different states and stuff. And that's pretty exciting. That's kind of like what I want to do for me. And then I have a bunch of like business stuff on the back end that's like fun for me, but probably not that exciting to talk about. But I'm super stoked about living in the van. It's going to be sick.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. You're gonna do it for, you said four. Yeah, I think I did 2 months, and it was a good time. I'm excited for you. And you gotta come back up to LA and record a podcast in person.
Oh yeah, that'll be the first thing I do. I'm gonna head right back to San Diego, get all my food kicks out of the way that I've been missing, like pho and all these different vegan things, and then I'll pop up through LA. We'll connect again, and then I'm out. I'm just gonna go all over the place.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, dude, I'm excited for you to live in a van because it's a really good time to have the freedom to just, you wake up, you drive, like, let's just stop here right now. Let's go hike this mountain. There's this beautiful lake. Let's just go jump in it. Like I think everyone needs to do that at least once. It's just to have their freedom of like, let's do it, because why not?
Right, man. And I mean, there's not a lot of people who have that freedom, that ability. And right now, this is the perfect time where before I decide where the next place is that I'm going to rent, I have this perfect window. And if I let that close, I'm going to be so angry at myself. So yeah, I'm taking advantage of it for sure.
Yeah. Well, you've built that for yourself. You deserve it.
Yeah.
Good, man.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be super sick.
I just want to say, man, like massive thank you for jumping on the podcast. I'm really excited that we got to record. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience and your story. I know it resonated with a lot of people that are listening. And especially like, the bulking part, cutting part, and skin. I never really talked about that side of my story. So I'm happy we got to dive into yours and all the improvements that you saw, because it's huge. Like, it makes a big difference. It's one thing to change your body, but then if you're dealing with skin and acne, like that does affect you. Like, it affected me big time in school. So yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's like one of my favorite things to talk about, is because I feel like acne is something that I can resonate with so many people with. And I really understand when someone says like they're going through a hard time because of acne. I've had people say they're like going through extreme depression or they're suicidal. I feel that like in my soul. When it comes to like bodybuilding, I'm like, I get it. I understand why it's fun to get jacked and stuff. But when someone talks to you because they've followed you from an acne perspective, you're like, you and me we're like bonded on a level that most people couldn't understand. We're like acne brothers and sisters. And so, yeah, I'm stoked that you let me use your podcast to talk about my acne journey a little bit there, man.
Of course, man. Well, actually, I also want to ask you, like, where can people find you? Because I know you have different channels for different topics, right? So you have different places for people to find different resources.
Yeah. So if you want veganism and fitness and pretty soon here van life weirdness and lifestyle stuff, that's just my name. So Brian Turner on YouTube, on Instagram, you'll find it. And then if you're interested in acne or skincare in general, it's team like a sports team Acne, and that's on YouTube and on Instagram.
Beautiful. So I'll link everything down below for everyone listening. So it's very easy. You just click on it. Don't have to type anything. I'll make it simple for you guys. And you also have a finance one, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't talk about that very often because I feel like most people don't care. I kind of just get my own organic subscribers on there. But if you're interested in learning how to make hella money, especially in the new age stuff like crypto, Brian Turner Invests. Check it out.
Brian's a wizard at that. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I feel like people need to start learning about this stuff, right? And obviously the podcast about veganism, but also improving yourself and finances is one of those areas that people need to improve on.
I could do a whole hour-long podcast about investments, bro. Don't get me started, man.
Well, I'll link the YouTube channel down below. So I want to say massive thank you for jumping on. Everyone, if you enjoyed the episode, be sure to go show Brian some love on his Instagram and his YouTube channels. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to the both of us. And if you have a vegan expression for 2 birds, 1 stone, definitely reach out. We're going to start a trend. We'll change it.
It's important. It's the most important part of this podcast.
Yes. Beautiful, Brian. Thank you very much for jumping on, my man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.